Coming from the twisted minds behind Dark Souls and Sekiro, you just know that Elden Ring is going to be a challenging and often gruelling journey. So you'll want to get started on the right foot, before some hellbeast comes to gnaw it off. Elden Ring gives you so much potential to upgrade and customize your character as you go that you're unlikely to find yourself desperately wishing you'd chosen someone a bit more magically inclined to play as 30 hours in. All the same, these first steps are very important. If you want to optimize your build, here's a handy guide to each of the classes, or origins as the game calls them, that you get to choose from at the start of the game.
When your teacher asked you what you wanted to be when you grew up, you probably didn't say a vagabond. But in the brutally beautiful world of Elden Ring, there are actually much worse career paths to go down. Starting out with a sturdy set of armor, the Vagabond is ideal for newcomers who want to be able to soak up a few blows while they're learning the tricks of the trade. The downside is that the sheer heft of it means you'll need to unequip some of your weightier starting gear, like the halberd or the helmet, if you want to be able to perform a dodge roll. And this being a From Software title, you'll absolutely want to be able to perform a dodge roll. It's B on the Xbox controller, by the way. You're welcome. You'll need it. On the offensive side of things, the Vagabond starts out with a nicely balanced set of strength and dexterity stats. For you lovely newbies out there, this is important as these determine what kinds of weapons are available to you to actually wield effectively, as well as adding in a handy damage boost for them. So if you know you want to be a melee specialist but haven't decided whether you're into an elegant swordplay or brute force clobbering, the Vagabond will let you keep your options open. And while this class can't naturally wield magic, a small investment in faith or intelligence stats will give you access to some basic healing and weapon augmentation spells. So it's still a good base if you're looking to build a spell sword sort of character.
But if you're committed to dispatching your enemies with elegance and grace, the warrior might actually be a better starting point. Boasting the highest starting dexterity stats of any class, they're a dab hand with daggers, spears, curved swords, and basically anything light and stabby. They even get to start out with a pair of scimitars, which allow you to unleash a flurry of deadly swipes by tapping the LB button. You won't have any problems with nimbly dodge rolling if you're starting off with this class, well, to start with anyway. Not all your problems can be solved with slicing, but fortunately the warrior also gains access to healing and weapon augmentation magic with just a little bit of work on their magical stats. Ideal if you want to create a nice, well-rounded build that's initially light on protection but high on speed and agility.
On the other hand, Bonnie Tyler's favourite class, the hero, is great if you just really like wailing on your enemies with the biggest, bluntest weapon you can get your mighty hands on. Which is handy because the hero starts with a massive battle axe. Bare-chested and boasting the highest strength stat available, this is the way to go if you're looking to do a Conan the Barbarian impression out in the lands between. But that buff bod comes at a price. The hero's magic-related stats are amongst the worst you'll find, so you're going to have very little in the way of spellcasting to help you when going gets tough, which ironically might lead you to do a fair amount of cursing. You'll also be ill-equipped in the dexterity department and, somewhat unsurprisingly, has the joint lowest intelligence stat at 7. So really, this is the class to focus on if strength is your ultimate goal.
The hero, warrior, and vagabond are all great if you're looking to attack the enemy head-on, but for a subtler approach, you could always go with the bandit. These guys are the way to go if you plan on skulking through the shadows and trying to catch the enemy unaware. Equipped with a short bow from the get-go and always craving critical hits, selecting the bandit class also gives you a ranged option to play with right away. Which is good because they're not nearly as handy up close, relying on parries and backstabs to make it through hand-to-hand encounters. That makes the bandit a class that's ideal for any player whose combat skills are already fairly well honed, and a bit risky for any total newcomers, especially for when it comes to those big boss fights where stealth goes out the window pretty sharpish. But hey, you're a bandit, it's not like you're going to listen to these rules anyway. Bandits also suffer from the fact that they start with the second lowest overall base level at level 5. But conversely, they have the highest starting level in Arcane, which makes sense given that in Elden Ring, Arcane dictates how likely you are to find items out in the world, and bandits aren't exactly known for leaving things where they find them.
Next up is the Astrologer. Now, I know some of you might be a bit skeptical about how legitimate a class that is, but that's just because you're all Scorpios and Mercury's in retrograde just now. In news that might come as a surprise to some, our astrologer friends are extremely high in intelligence as well as arcane, making them pretty nifty magic users. Playing as an astrologer, you'll start the day with a couple of pretty handy offensive spells to toss out. Glintstone Pebble to lay into a single foe, and Glintstone Arc to help with crowd control. Anyway, while this is clearly a foundation for someone intending to focus more on the magical side of the game, the astrologer also has a short sword which they will happily start swinging if the enemy is undeterred by magical incantations and cosmic pop psychology. But be warned, this is a break the emergency glass kind of deal, as with the lowest starting stat for strength, these folks quite literally aren't built for physical combat.
Another class that goes for brains over brawn, the Prophet starts out with a particularly high faith stat. This pious streak provides players with a whole mess of holy and fire-type elemental magic to send their enemies packing with. Keep climbing those skill trees and you'll soon have a nice array of healing and utility spells to work with, as well as turning your Prophet into something of a magical Swiss Army knife. You start with a Finger Seal, which will let you use incantations like Heal, which we shouldn't have to explain, and Catch Flame, which is more offensive in nature. Sadly, all that time preaching rather than doing preacher curls has left them a little on the weedy side. With only a spear and a rickety shield to protect themselves with, this is another class you'll probably want to steer clear of if melee combat is your jam. After all, they start with the rather flimsy Prophet robe and trousers for armor, perhaps one for players returning for a new challenge. Not only because it's a little on the specialist side, but also because you'll literally be able to predict everything that's coming, which kind of fits the brand there, huh?
The Samurai is a class I know I don't have to sell to you at all, because samurais are totally badass and have been for like 900 years now. But here's the lowdown anyway. As you'd expect, Elden Ring samurai come equipped with a katana, allowing them to deliver deadly two-handed attacks that can quickly cut your foes down to size. On top of that, you'll also be given a longbow for when you'd rather pick off your enemies from afar, which does tend to be preferable in a From Software game given how utterly terrifying everyone is up close, especially in 4K on the Xbox Series X. Essentially, the samurai plays like a vagabond, only slightly more skilled with a blade and slightly less well armoured and strong, and with more of a focus on ranged combat. Just like the Vagabond, you'll find them to be a jack of all trades when it comes to melee, able to scrap with just about any kind of weapon under the sun. Versatility has never looked so good.
At a glance, it can seem kinda masochistic to choose the class with no armor apart from the iron mask welded to their head, and the name Prisoner just doesn't really inspire the same confidence as Hero or Warrior. Still, the Prisoner actually has a unique mixture of intelligence and dexterity that allows them to become adept at both the swords and sorcery sides of Elden Ring. That's reflected in their starting equipment too, as they come packing both a fancy French sword called an estoc with 107 damage and a catalyst staff for when you want to get your Gandalf on. Getting the best of both worlds mean you won't go into the game as strong as the classes with a singular speciality, but as you progress and unlock more spells and weapons, the Prisoner's hidden talents will become abundantly clear. As you may expect though, they're pretty weak with very low strength, so it's a scaling challenge certainly, but it will absolutely pay off in the long run in terms of agile attacks and a library of spells. But they will still kinda look silly.
The Confessor is a great class choice if you prefer a more defensive build and are also consumed by shame for all of your terrible sins. They start out with a range of restorative incantations to keep you in good nick and a set of monastery chic armor that provides ample protection without limiting your movement too much. The Confessor also comes with a meaty broadsword and a reasonably robust kite shield, so they make for a good no-nonsense class that's ideal for new players who expect to take a few hits before they get the hang of things. Plus, the highest starting soul level out of the classes at 10 gives you a nice head start. Since their stats are nicely balanced across the board, choosing this class will also leave you free to figure out your own playstyle as you go. Although obviously this means you're unlikely to be quite as proficient at any one thing as some of the more specialized classes are.
Last but not, well, actually, yeah, definitely also least, we have the Wretch. With nothing but a strip of cloth to protect their dignity and a wooden club to protect their everything else, the Wretch is for players who want to start from scratch and earn every single skill point and scrap of armor along the way through a flood of blood, sweat, and tears. Lots of tears, probably. Their stats are all perfectly even from the start at 10 across the board, so you'll have total freedom to develop your Wretch into whatever sort of character you want, so long as you can prevent them from being immediately torn limb from limb by their better armed, decidedly less naked enemies, that is. Oh, and by the way, your general starting level is 1. Best of luck to all you masochists out there.
Now, while all these origins and classes are of course big deals, the other huge choice you'll need to make while designing your character is which keepsake you want them to carry with them. Each of these items provide a boost that can be invaluable at the start of the game, so it's important to choose wisely. Beginners might enjoy the Crimson Amber Medallion, which increases your maximum HP, while if you really stack the odds up against yourself, you can opt for Chabarir's Woe and attract your enemy's aggression. The Golden Seed will gift you an extra use of your healing flask, so it's great if you're planning to slug it out as a hero, while the physical damage reduction you'll get from the Boiled Prawn might be good for the Shrimpier magic build and classes. If you're looking for a helping hand in battle, the Fanged Imp Ashes provide you with a scrappy summon to call on, while the Cracked Pot can help you craft throwing pots to bombard your enemies with. When you're not fighting, the Lands Between Rune can be consumed to give you more runes, the game's main form of currency in place of souls. Or you can take the Stone Sword key, which cracks open locks and is ideal for early game looting, although it is a single-use item since the key is shattered in the process, so choose wisely. Then there's the Bewitching Branch, a mysterious, magical keepsake said to originate from the demigod Michaela. So whatever it does, it's probably good. We hope.
The night is dark and full of terrors, but if you pick your class right, you might just stand a chance against whatever George R.R. Martin and From Software have cooked up for us this time around. Probably not though. Let us know all about what class you'll be picking down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell for more handy tips and Xbox gossip. Bye!